Chapter 14, Section 4 in the 8th grade note-taking guide is entitled Subtracting Polynomials. Now in number 1, part A, they're asking you to identify the opposite of the polynomial. And that polynomial is actually a monomial. It's 8x cubed y to the 4th z squared. And we're supposed to identify the opposite of it. Well, of course, the opposite of a number is me just changing the sign from positive to negative or negative to positive, whatever the case may be. In this case, since this is positive, we're going to flip it negative and write negative 8x cubed y to the 4th z squared, and we're done. Now that may seem odd because it doesn't really seem to fit in with the topic, but indeed it does in actuality. What we're going to do when we approach subtracting polynomials is use the same ideas that we used when we subtracted integers. We would change subtraction into adding the opposite, and then from there we would decide what to do based on the signs of both of the numbers. You're going to do the same thing here. You're going to change subtraction into adding the opposite and then decide to do based on the matching terms. So of course that's why they started off by talking about opposites in a 1A there, because that's something you're going to have to apply to all of the problems in chapter 14 section 4. So as we scroll down and look at number 2 here, they're asking me to subtract 5x squared, 2x and minus 3, and then subtract the second polynomial, 3x squared plus 8x minus 4. So again, what we want to do here is change this into adding the opposite the way we've already learned subtraction, the way we've worked subtraction many times this year, especially when we're talking about positive and negative numbers. And so that's where we'll start here. So what I want to do is go ahead and change the subtraction sign in the middle of the two polynomials into addition, and then everything after it is going to change its signs. So positives will become negatives, negatives will become positives, addition becomes subtraction, subtraction becomes addition, whatever the case may be based on the problem. So this 3x squared here is positive. That's going to become a negative now. As you can see, they've inserted that into line 2. Instead of adding 8x now, I'm going to subtract 8x, which is what you see here in line 2. And instead of me subtracting 4, I'm going to add 4, again, what you see here in line 2. And once we've gone ahead and rewritten that, now we can go about the process of actually combining the like terms, which is what I intend to do here. So, as we go ahead and work that out here, we'll identify our like terms and combine. I've got 5x squared and negative 3x squared. Well, when I combine those, that's of course going to give me 2x squared, which is what you can see they've written in the first part of the answer. They've got here now a 2x and a negative 8x. We go ahead and combine those, and again, notice I'm taking that sign with me here. There is a minus in front of this. I'm going to treat it like it's negative, or we could just say 2x minus 8x, however you want to say it. 2x minus 8x is going to give me negative 6x, so I wrote minus 6x in my answer. And then I'm going to combine the integer parts. Here I've got minus 3 or negative 3 being added to 4, and I combine those and I get a 1, a positive 1. So I end up with 2x squared minus 6x plus 1. Now in number 3 there, they're asking me to subtract again, but as you can see, they've gone back to the vertical articulation like they did in the section about adding. They've gone ahead and lined up the like terms vertically, and they're doing this like double-digit, 3-digit, 4-digit addition and subtraction like you learned back in elementary school. So again, they've done though first, just what we saw back up here in number 2, is they went through and they changed the subtraction sign into addition, and then whatever's directly after it changes its signs. So that means this whole second polynomial has to change signs. So again, positives become negative, negatives become positives, addition becomes subtraction, subtraction becomes addition. That's what they are prepared to do here. So instead of this being a positive 6n squared, this is going to be minus 6n squared. Instead of being minus 7n, this is going to be plus 7n. Instead of being plus 5, now that's going to be minus 5 or plus negative 5. And as you can see, now they've gone ahead and lined up the like terms and have prepared us to sum vertically here. So I've got 2n squared and negative 6n squared. Those are going together to make negative 4n squared. I have this minus 4n or negative 4n being added to 7n. That's going to go ahead and make 3n's for me. And then here's a 9 and a negative 5, or 9 minus 5, which goes together to make 4. So 2n squared minus 4n plus n, taking away 6n squared minus 7n plus 5, yields negative 4n squared plus 3n plus 4. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at number 4 here, it says, suppose the cost in dollars of producing X bookcases is given by the polynomial 250 plus 128X, and the revenue generated from sales is given by the polynomial 216X minus 75. Find a polynomial expression for the profit from producing and selling X bookcases and evaluate the expression for X equals 95. So profit is how much you make minus what you spend. And that's going to assume there is some, and as we see as we'll solve this here, there are actually cases we could generate where we wouldn't actually be making any money here. But this situation, as they've set it up for us, will, so that's not a big deal. Obviously, this is in the section about subtracting polynomials, and since it's find profit, we're going to take what we make and subtract what we spend. That's, of course, why it fits into this section. So we're going to take the polynomial that represents what we make, the 16x minus 75, and subtract from it what we spend, the 250 plus 128x, which is what they're showing us there in line 1 of the work. As we go down now, they're doing the same rules that we've seen here in this section. Is they're going ahead and taking the subtraction and changing it to addition, and then changing the signs of everything after it, and then they're combining the like terms. In the middle here, as you can see, we've got our integer parts, so we can just throw those together. Negative 75 minus 250 is going to change into a minus 325. And then here's 216x taking away 128x. When I do that, that gives me 88x's. So I've got 88x minus 325. So there's the polynomial 88x minus 325. That's going to be the polynomial that represents how much money I'm making my profit. Now, they want us to now solve the polynomial for x equals 95, meaning I'm making 95 bookcases. How much money am I going to make? Well, when I change x into 95 and use the order of operations, 88 times 95 minus 325, I generate 8,035. So when I make 95 bookcases, I'm going to make a little over $8,000 in profit. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the concluding examples here. The check it out examples. Number 1, they're asking me to find the opposite of the polynomial, and they've given me negative 4a squared plus 4a to the 4th. So this is just like question number 1 that you did for me in the examples here on the previous page. Again, finding the opposite means going through and changing the signs of everything that's there. So minuses will become plus, pluses will become minuses, negatives will become positive, positives will become negatives, as the case may be for each little term in the polynomial. You'll actually have to look at each part to determine what's going to change there. So as we take a look at this negative in 4a squared is going to become positive, and the plus in front of 4a to the 4th becomes minus, and now we've gone ahead and listed the opposite. Let's take a look at number 2 there, c cubed plus 2c squared plus 3, and then I'm supposed to take away 4c cubed minus c squared minus 1. All right, so we can go ahead and make that change. It should not be a big deal. Again, as far as making that change, you're going to change the subtraction to addition, and everything directly after it is going to change its sign. So minuses become plus, pluses become minus, positives become negatives, negatives become plus, whatever the case may be here. So here what you've got is you've got a positive 4c cubed becoming negative, a minus c squared becoming a plus, and a minus 1 also becoming a plus. Now we can go ahead and combine the like terms. So I've got c cubed minus 4c cubed. That's going to give me negative 3c cubed, which is what you see right there. 2c squared being added to another c squared. Remember, if there's no coefficient, it's like a 1. That's going to give me 3c squared, which is what you see right there. And then you've got 3 and 1, plain old integers, which we can combine. Everybody should be able to do that part. 3 and the 1 are going to go together to make 4, which is what you see right there. So c cubed plus 2c squared plus 3, taking away 4c cubed minus c squared minus 1 yields negative 3c cubed plus 3c squared plus 4. As I've said many times, you do not have to write it in that particular order. They are continuing to write their solutions here in this particular question in standard form or descending order, with the greatest exponent first and the smallest or no exponents last. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's also not necessary. However, that does tend to be a preferred way to write your solutions here. As we look at number 3, we've got 4r cubed plus 4r plus 6. And then I'm supposed to subtract the polynomial 6r cubed plus 3r plus 3. So we'll go ahead and make those changes here. Making those changes here, this is going to become plus, and then everything that's after is going to change its sign. So that means positives are going to become negative, and pluses are also going to become subtractions, which is all we have in this question, so I'm not even going to state the other cases. So instead of being positive 6r cubed, this is going to be negative 6r cubed. Instead of being plus 3r, this is going to be minus 3r. Instead of being plus 3, this is going to be minus 3. Well, let's match things up. 4r cubed is going to match up with this negative 6r cubed. Reasoning is because they're both r cubed things. 4r cubed minus 6r cubed is going to give me negative 2r cubed, which is what you see they wrote first. 4r is going to match up with negative 3r. Reasoning is because they're both r things. So if I have 4 r's and I take away 3 r's, I'm left with 1 r, which is what you can see they wrote right there. And then the 6 and the 3 are going to match up as well here. 6 and 3 are both integers. Of course, we know we can combine those. We've been doing that for a long time. 6 and the 3 are going to go together to make 3, which is what you see right there. So we end up with negative 2r cubed plus r plus 3. All right, there is one remaining question here, so let's go ahead and handle that. It says, suppose the cost in dollars of producing X batting gloves is given by the polynomial 16 minus 3x, and the revenue generated from sales is given by the polynomial 23 plus 5x. Find the polynomial expression for the profit from producing and selling X batting gloves and evaluate the expression for x equals 105. All right, so this is just like the earlier question here where we have to identify what is our profit, what are we, our revenue, what we're spending, subtract the two, and that will generate my profit statement. So my profit statement is going to be me taking what I make from selling them, 23 minus 5x, and subtracting the other polynomial in the question, which is 16 minus 3x. Well, as you can see, the way I've written that, it looks just like all the other questions we've done, so we're going to approach this in much the same way. That minus is going to change into plus, and everything in the polynomial after it is going to go ahead and change its signs. So pluses are going to become minuses, minuses will become pluses, positives will become negatives, negatives will become positives, whatever the case may be. Since 16 is positive, it's going to be negative. Since 3x has a minus in front of it, it's now going to have a plus in front of it. So I've got 23 and negative 16, which makes 7, which, as you've already seen listed, is part of the answer. And here's my negative 5x, and that should be plus 5x. Sorry about that. This does say 5x. I didn't, just wrote the incorrect sign. 5x being added to 3 more x's gives me 8x's, which is the other part of the answer. You can see, again, they've tended to write our answers in standard form or descending order, and once again, they have done the same. So the polynomial 8x plus 7 represents our profit. Now we can plug in any number for x that we want to see how much money we've made. They've decided that they're going to sell 105 batting gloves and figure out how much money they're going to make. So when we change x into 105, we do 8 times 105 plus 7, and we generate 847, which means I've made $847 when I make 105 batting gloves.